Okay, I'm just a little bit behind this morning. Feeling a little behind schedule. Didn't sleep real well last night, but welcome. See, there we go. All right, that should be good. Hey there, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me just make sure that I am, in fact, live. There we go. All right. We are ready. We have finished this week, and it was a fun week. I had a lot of blank space up here at the top, and I ended up writing in a bunch of quotes because I was doing that in my in my alternate journal, and I thought, oh, I'd like to have them in here. And then I ended up with a quote along the side. So we ended up with a lot of different stuff kind of going on this week, which was fun. We did do my ice cream for breakfast, and we were the first in line, so we got the poster this week, this year, which was awesome. And so now we are ready for February 9th to 15th. Now, a lot of people are celebrating Valentine's Day. We don't particularly do a lot for Valentine's Day, but on that particular day, that is also the day that downtown St. Louis. Good morning, Little Green Cottage. How are you doing? Um, this is also the day that downtown St. Louis celebrates Mardi Gras this year. So it's kind of going to be, there's a lot going on Saturday. So even though we don't do a lot for Valentine's Day, there is quite a bit that we can, um, that we have to choose from to do this week. Um, this week, I have chosen this super cute forest fairy forest or magic forest washi from the Coffee Monster Co. I absolutely adore this washi. The only one thing that's different about this or unusual is that it pulls from this direction. And it's always so weird to me. The same manufacturer, I know the washis are probably coming from the same place. So I'm not sure why. I always prefer the ones that pull uh, from left to right instead of right to left. Um, oh, what are you cooking? Something good for breakfast, I hope. Did you do ice cream for breakfast yesterday? Yesterday was ice cream for breakfast day. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope that you're making something absolutely yummy and delicious. My partner is currently cooking too. If you hear cooking sounds, hopefully my little microphone keeps that from coming through um, on the live stream, but he is making himself some eggs right now. So we're going to just start with this. I absolutely love this washi. This is so fanciful and cute, and it does give that kind of, ooh, breakfast burritos, yummy. Um, it gives that uh, pink vibe without going over the top Valentine's like. I will add this little heart washi, which again also pulls in this direction as well. It's kind of something after you use washi for a while, you get used to, washis that behave in a certain way. And I am just very used to, good or bad, I'm very used to the washis that pull in the other direction. And so this pink will coordinate nicely. They're not exactly the same. If you look, this pink has a little bit more purple in it in the Magic Forest, but because there's so much space between the two, you really won't see it um, very clearly by the time everything else is in here. I am going to go ahead and put my work week in, and I'm going to be more realistic this week. The last couple weeks, I have put in that I was going to work at 8. And as you can see, I have not made it to work at 8 a single day last week. And so I'm going to put in 8:30, be a little bit more realistic with my time. And the reason that makes a little bit of a difference, I mean, it doesn't make a huge difference, but it in the morning, especially, it doesn't make a difference when I start this work block. If I started at 8, that's fine because I really don't usually have a lot going on above, like before work, other than my filming on Friday. Where it does make a difference is that all of these events in the afternoon start later, or, in the evening, afternoon start later. Now, it made sense when I had this kind of larger washi down here to push everything up a little bit so I had space to write things. But this week, we're just going to be a little bit more realistic with our time. So, what do you like in your breakfast burritos? I know they are very, very popular. I'm not a big breakfast person, um, so I have not really gotten into the breakfast burrito thing. I am usually just a coffee in the morning kind of person, and then, eat in the afternoon. Could sometimes do a little baked good in the morning, but I try to limit that because I don't want that many carbs first thing. So breakfast burrito sounds like a great way to not be adding in too many carbs. Let's see. I am going to put this on its side here because I have a meeting first thing in the morning. Well, I say first thing. I have a meeting at 9 in the morning on Monday, which is not really first thing for most people, but I have just noticed that if I get into work too early, I don't get out any earlier. And it just means I end up working more. And so I have tried to not get into work too early. Um, just to protect my free time, my sanity, just not getting into work and working a whole bunch of extra hours that I'm not supposed to be working. We are going to go ahead and put our date night down here. I haven't used pink and green since Wicked Week. This is kind of fun. I pulled out the green from the little wings and it's kind of a bluish green. And this 312 is a great bluish green. I will say Tombow doesn't have a lot of really great blues, but they do have a lot of variety in their greens, which is really nice. And this 312 is a nice one. I like it. It's got a little bit more gray to it. And then I have a call with my friend Kim. And my partner just signed up for darts. on Wednesday. So I have my call with my friend Dana after my call with Kim. Wednesday night is chatting with the girls while he is off throwing some darts at the wall. There we go. And let's see. We have a lot here, as I mentioned, but I am reluctant to kind of put in too much here because I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do. There's a big parade downtown. We're thinking about doing that. There's what else is going on? There's a friend of ours having a pre-parade party very close to the parade, so we could go do that. So there's a lot of options for this day, and I don't necessarily want to limit myself. So I'm gonna employ one of my favorite techniques and just grab a washi sticker, or not a washi sticker, a post-it sticker. So these are post-it notes, sticky notes. They're little post-it notes that are designed to be removable. I was going to use this one because I used this one before and then didn't end up needing it. So I put it off to the side here, but I don't think I want to go with gray. I think we're going to stay in this little pink vein here. This pink colors. And I think the parade is at 10:30. So we will put that in at 10:30 and just kind of put a little note to myself that this is an option without committing to it in the planner. I know a lot of times people are afraid to pre-plan because plans are going to change, and these are great for that. Having these little sticky notes, um, because they're so easy to just kind of move around as you need them like that. Um, they are great. So this is party at Keith's. Mardi Gras parade. There we go. Now it's in there. If I decide to do it, great. If not, I can easily remove it, and I'm not feeling overly committed to it. I'm going to add in the plan with me on Sunday morning, and I'm also going to add in 2 little boxes here like we've done in the past. So we need to film check-in every Friday. I just kind of check in and let you guys know how the week went and what it felt like to be doing YouTube for the week, whatever it is that I have decided to do for that week. And how that felt with working a full-time job and all of that, and look a little bit at the statistics and how everything's going. Just kind of check in on the progress of YouTube. I always find that interesting, and I notice that a lot of smaller creators don't often do that until they get big. And so I like to make sure that I have that history so that you guys can always see how the channel grew in real time, rather than looking back at a bunch of dry statistics. So I film that before I go to work. I also finish the Patreon post. I also do a collection of links on Patreon. So I just recently in December started a Patreon page at the end of the year. And so I just do a weekly wrap up over there. It tells you what videos I've posted and gives you links to all of them, just so that you can kind of have a single place where if you want to find particular videos from a specific week, it's very easy to do. Um, so there's that. All right. So that is the bulk of my week. I don't have a lot going on this week because, as I've mentioned, um, it is cold, and I am not built for cold. That's the best way I can think to put it. Hey, Keisha. Ice cream for breakfast was great. We were first in line and we got the poster this year. So this is just a picture of the poster, but it is sitting here in my office looking all fancy. So we got our free mug, we got the poster, and most importantly, we got some ice cream. So Malcolm had the Venetian tiramisu, which was a coffee-based ice cream with vanilla ladyfingers, and I got the cereal Moo Juice, which was more like, when you get like a Fruity Pebbles or some kind of fruity cereal, kid cereal, and you leave it in milk, what the milk tastes like. That's what the cereal tasted like, and then it had little marshmallow bits in it. It was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. It was great ice cream for breakfast day. We went in pajamas and pearls, and it was fun. Obviously, fake pearls. I don't think I own uh, real pearls anymore. But yeah, they make a big event of it, and it's always fun. Now, our ice cream parlor is outside, our local one, and so fortunately we have heated coats. So we had to remember to charge our heated coats on Friday, and they did come in handy. It was right around freezing in the morning. So I was just mentioning how it's cold and I don't like to go outside, but apparently ice cream will get me outside even if it's cold. So that is apparently a thing. I am going to put in here because it's cold. There was a train of thought I was going with. Yeah, if your favorite parlor doesn't do this, you should show them what St. Louis does because there are quite a few. St. Louis really celebrates it, and it didn't start here. It started in New York, apparently, in the 1960s as a thing. Um, but St. Louis does it really, really well. So, so yeah, if your local like ice cream parlor doesn't do it, I suggest that you put a little bug in their ear and suggest maybe they want to start something new and fun. Um, if not, you can always do it at home. Um, so I'm going to put in something on Monday and Wednesday between my calls and Friday. Um, when it is really cold like this, and especially January, February time of year, I start to, I don't want to say suffer because it's not really suffering, but I start to really get that seasonal affected disorder where it becomes a really big struggle to do anything. Um, and um, So, what I do to combat that, and I just started last week because I was starting to notice that I was really feeling it, it was starting to feel heavy. What I do is I go and stand in the light box at Planet Fitness. So I don't do it to get a tan. I don't stand in it long enough to get a tan, but just to get a little bit of light, because that is something that my body really, really misses. So I'm just going to put in here, because I like to do it on my way home so that I don't, if I get home, I won't go back out. Um, and just get a little bit of light. Um, so, I stand in it's basically a stand-up tanning bed, but I don't stand in there long enough to get any kind of tan. Um, and I don't do it all year. I only do it during this time of year when I'm feeling a little bit of the effects of that seasonal affective disorder. I do have a light on my desk that does, one of those sunlights on my desk, but that doesn't always help me until spring. So just to cover that little bit of time between, the beginning of February, end of January, and spring when I'm able to be out and about more. That's what I do. Yeah, I love this color combo and this washi. It's got the pinks and everything and feels very whimsical, but not overwhelmingly Valentine's like. And then I was also saying, Keisha, that St. Louis has Mardi Gras on Valentine's Day. So, um, yeah, it's an interesting thing when you have that. I just miss the sun. My body really, really misses the sun. I always say that I'm solar powered, and that is, you know, I feel better when I can get out in the sunshine a lot. Um, and I can't necessarily do that, especially here in the Midwest. I mean, we don't get sun for long enough. Um, so yeah, they have a big Mardi Gras parade, and then I want to say, because I know the 17th is Lunar New Year, um, which is usually when Mardi Gras starts. And so I think the 17th will probably be Fat Tuesday. Um, Now, let's see. I'm going to put in some sleep over here. I was doing really well with sleep this week, and then last night I had so much trouble falling asleep, and I think I only got about 5 hours, just under 5 hours of sleep. But I was doing well the rest of the week. I was up near 6.5, 7 hours a day, which for me is really, really good. um, but how are those breakfast burritos coming along, Little Green Cottage? Are we ready to eat yet? Keisha, I don't think you were here when the chat started, but Little Green Cottage is making breakfast burritos today. I think she's sharing with all of us. Those sound good. I'm not a huge breakfast person unless it's something like ice cream for breakfast, but I could definitely try something new. This brown actually really makes the spread because these kind of the pink and green is always a really interesting combination. It's very preppy from the 80s. Um, but the brown just kind of takes it in a different direction from the tree and the little bear here. Oh, we just started. Okay, well, that is all right. Are you making a lot? Do you like to freeze them ahead of time or um And then eat them throughout the week, or do you just make them on the day that you're making them? I'm curious. I'm always curious when people have fun breakfast foods because I just never have the energy to make breakfast. And so I always think it's so interesting that for people who like to do that. I do occasionally on the weekends like to have a breakfast, but I forget what time is my tea. Block out some work meetings here. Yeah, I have not done. We never really were big into celebrating Mardi Gras, um, either, Keisha. Um, but we have a friend who's having a party right before the parade, and um, he lives right by the parade, so we might find ourselves at it. We'll see. It's on a little removable sticky note in case we decide to not do it. Because again, it's cold and it's that time of year when I don't, you know, I don't necessarily want to leave the house. So if I make plans, I may or may not actually do the plans unless I'm already out and about. So things like going to Planet Fitness, I have to tuck it up into right after work because otherwise I might not do it. And I'm really just going to walk in there and stand in the light box for like 5 minutes and then walk out, and to wave at all the fitness equipment. And I'm not going to make myself get in there and do it. Oh, what a great way to use up the what you have in the kitchen. That's fantastic. Um, I try to get through clearing out my refrigerator too. I'm trying to be better about that. I forced us to eat leftovers during the middle of the week this last week. So you can see right here we had this leftover fettuccine here on Wednesday, and neither one of us wanted it, but it was in the fridge. and, and so I made us eat it um, because I'm trying to be better about not having science experiments in my refrigerator. So great. Whoever else is listening that wants to make good breakfast burritos, go give it a try at Little Green Cottage. Do you have a recipe that you have like um, with your YouTube channel at all? The fettuccine was good. It was just not great. And then we had tons of it to bring home. And so, um, so that it was just a lot. Uh, so we have two meetings. I have two meetings on the books this week. I have the typical construction meeting on Tuesday, and then I have another lighting controls meeting. I think this is the discussion that never dies. Um, we're doing the hotel is a renovation, and so there is a lot of things that change as walls open. And oh, that sounds yummy. Sausage and cheese breakfast burritos, yummy. Um, we're doing a renovation, so as things have progressed along the project and more areas have been opened up, more things have been discovered, and so um, ceilings especially have changed a lot over the course of the project, and so the getting the lighting right is challenging. So it's just been quite the adventure there, um, to uh, and a lot of meetings about it. So hopefully we're nearing the end. Yeah, we went to the Italian restaurant on Sunday after we did our grocery shopping, because we're those people that will grocery shop and then go to the restaurant afterwards. So we just bought all this food and then we go to the restaurant, because buying the food and having the energy to actually make the food that night is just too much at once. So um, we uh, we didn't really have a lot going on in the fridge, in terms of options to go with the fettuccine alfredo once we got it all home. So part of me kind of wants this. I keep trying to find an excuse to use this, but it's a little bit big. I'm trying to find something that can go and live in this space. And I'm looking through these vinyls because I have so many of them. And this would be super cute because we've got the little tree there. So I could do something like that. I'm thinking that's probably going to be it. I could also do this guy because I am very, very sleepy. This guy is so cute. So we have, what are our options here? We've got this one, and then we've got this guy, just because I am, again, tired this time of year. That's why the Planet Fitness light box, but I think the purples are a little distracting in that. And I use purple so often, I don't necessarily need it this time. Where are we at? I don't often go through. This is there's an author that was local to me when I lived back in Indiana, and she also does artwork that goes with her books, and this is one of those art pieces. I have no idea when I'm going to use it, but I absolutely love it. It is so cute. I think this is going to win. Again, I don't do a lot ever on Monday nights. I don't have plans this Monday, so I'm not real worried about covering up the bulk of Monday. If I really need to put something in there, I can. So I think this is what it's going to be. I don't want to spend all day thinking about it, because in the grand scheme of things, is not going to be that big of a deal. Uh, but we do want it to be cute. So there we go. All right, that feels good. And I think I'm going to put different colors in here. I normally do these all the same, but I really like all these different colors this week. Everything's got kind of a muted tone to it. I don't have anything, even this pink has a little gray in it. I don't have anything too bright. The sleepy one is cute too. I do agree, but we're not going to go with sleepy. I just did the dead battery one, or drained battery one last week here. So I feel like I probably should not make myself look tired 2 weeks in a row. So, I don't, every once in a while, this sits kind of open on my desk at work during the week. Um, and I don't necessarily want people to think I'm chronically exhausted, even if it's true. I don't need to perpetuate that image, I guess. At least this time of year, I'm chronically exhausted. But with that purple, there will be plenty. I do a lot of purple, um, seeing as it's one of my, or it is my favorite color. So that will definitely get some use. I will not have problems using that sleepy washi. It's amazing. I always wonder what I'm going to do and what it's going to look like and all of this stuff. But it's amazing once you start adding in all the core things that you do in the week, um, how quickly it all comes together. And I have a lot of posting this week. Um, you guys are in for a lot of treats this week. I have 2 extra videos. I have an extra video on Tuesday that's already uploaded, and then I have an extra one that someone asked me or suggested that I make that I'll be doing on Thursday as well. So I got some new washi. Um, I'll give you a little sneak peek of Tuesdays, and it's gonna be very quick, but I got these new washis in the mail. Uh, and so we look at them and swatch them uh, on Tuesday. So that was very nice and fun to do. So that's already made and uploaded. I'm going to look at the weather here. It is supposed to be slightly nicer next week. I want to make sure I'm in the right spot. Yep. Okay. We are supposed to be back in the, well, mostly 40s and 50s. We do have a day that's in the 60s next week. So it's starting to feel a little better. St. Louis needs to thaw out because I'll tell you what, I'm used to living places with snow. I don't like it, but I'm used to it. What I am not used to is living places that get snow and don't really exactly know how to take care of snow and how to move snow around. So St. Louis doesn't get a lot of snow anymore. They did when I was a kid because my grandparents lived here, and there was snow. I remember snow more frequently when I was a kid, but apparently they don't get it much anymore. So they really don't have a lot of snow plows and snow equipment. They're prepared for it, but it's kind of emergency management versus an every year occurrence. They don't necessarily expect it. And because of that, there's not a really clear direction as to how they're going to move things around. And so I noticed there are a lot of roads, for example, where if there are 2 lanes going in one direction, they may have only plowed the left-hand lane, and then they don't plow the right-hand lane. They just pile all the snow in the right-hand lane. And sometimes the right-hand lane will be plowed, sometimes it'll be half plowed, sometimes it won't be plowed at all. And so you run into this situation where you might get into a stretch where that right lane is plowed and cars move over there. And then you hit that next stretch where it's not plowed and they move right back. They have to get back in and merge back into the left. And it's just very chaotic. And so I know that that's a frequent strategy. Like in the Chicago area, if it is snowing a lot, they will do that sometimes um, just to get paths cleared, right? And so you might have that happen where they've only plowed one lane of a particular street while it's actively snowing. And then once the snow stops, then they go back and they start clearing those areas off. Well, St. Louis doesn't go back at all. So whatever they clear in initially with the storm is what they clear. And now they're just waiting for everything to melt. So at least hope it should all melt by Wednesday. So I guess that's good. Um, but it's definitely a different strategy than what I'm used to. I'm not used to that, to having that be the case. Um, We do have a couple days, Saturday and Sunday, it's supposed to rain. So usually what I like to do if there's going to be moisture is I just underline. That just lets me know that it's forecasted that it'll rain, and it isn't really distracting if I'm looking back if it didn't actually rain. I've been really bad this week about adding in our weather, what actually happened. So I was better about it. Let's see. I was better about it last month. Where are we? I find it's better about it here. At the end of January, I've got all the weather in, but I've been really bad about that here in February. I didn't really do it this week, and so I need to remember because I do like looking back on the weather, and I also notice if I'm doing journal entries, things like that, I will notice that um, I enjoy kind of paying attention to whether it's sunny. The more sunny days, the better I'm usually feeling. Again, I am solar powered. Uh, and so the more sunny days, the better I'm feeling. And so the more energetic my journal entries tend to be. It's just a little interesting note. But I think that is everything for this particular page. I'm going to go ahead and make my Alistair um, list again as part of my week. I was doing this after the live, but I know Keisha especially likes the Alistair list. So I'm going to go ahead and make it during the live. It is really part of my weekly planning. Um, the spread did come out cute. I love it. I think it's absolutely adorable. We'll look back at it again before we go. I'm going to do the pink and brown here. Kind of reminds me of Baskin Robbins. I guess I still have ice cream on the brain. There we go. And then I'm going to pull out my very, very faint, this is N95, faint gray, and just go across every other line here. It really does help when I am trying to line up, especially when you have some ghosting on the back. Sometimes things are coming through And this particular planner ghosts a lot less than others, but you can still see some things through it. Just part of the charm. Nothing wrong with that, but it does make it easier to see what line you're on when you've got something drawn here. Just super faint, just enough to distinguish the lines. So I've been good about the steps too, by the way. The goal setting that I did earlier, um, getting my step count up last week, or this past week, has been very good. We went walking at the mall twice. Um, I'm anxious. Hopefully this week, with it being so nice out, we'll be able to get out maybe a couple times and walk outside. That would be nice. Unfortunately, it's going to be nice during the week, all week, and then on the weekend, it's going to get cold again. Uh, yeah, the Ellister method is so good at um, keeping me from having to write it over and over again. Okay. So I was looking down at the page. So the Alistair list. So we're gonna build it. I always start by laying down the tombos because they don't always work as nicely over the black. Um, Sometimes the black likes a little bit of time to dry. I do use an archival ink in my fountain pen, but sometimes it takes a little bit uh, to get to the point where I could write over it with a Tombow. So uh, the Ellister list for me looks very similar every week. It is my task list. So a lot of people, like Keisha was saying, she still likes an everyday list. A lot of people prefer that. I used to have one, but I write. Um, I found myself writing the same thing over and over again every single day. So I didn't want to keep having to do that. So I was looking for alternatives. This was a few years back and found this Alistair task list and have started doing that. So once I get all these lines in, I will explain to you what goes where and why. And it's fairly basic. The start of every week, I do one. The Just Scribble Planner has this great page, extra page before the week. So this is it's the page after the vertical week here. And then they just have this blank page before Monday starts. And so for me, that's what I do here. So I put an X in the first column or an arrow there. So everything at the end of the week is going to have an X or an arrow here in this first column. The second column, I put an exclamation point. That is where I note anything that is especially important that I really need to pay attention to. It's important that I look at it. I just want a trigger here. And usually if I have something important, and I didn't have one this last week, but I think I did the week before. If I have something important, here we go. I will usually put a different color, like this pink here that really stands out. an exclamation point in this column. I really have to pay attention to those. It's really important that they get done. And then I usually will put I'll use a dot marker in a contrasting color, so brighter color, to let me know that I need to do those things on that day. If there are just days that I would like to do the things, I will put it in just kind of a gray color. Uh, so basically, you've got this column is the done or moved to next week. If I just draw a line all the way through, it means I'm not doing the thing at all. um, So we'll go back and kind of look at this in a minute. I'm going to move one of my bookmarks over there so we can come back to that and look through a week that's done. But let's finish setting up the week. So we have our days. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I usually have a column over here for when things are due. Um, so if there is an actual due date, if I have to email something to somebody or something like that, it's more than just a quick task. It's something that I have to get out to someone, then I will put a due date here. And I'll either write the date or I'll write the day. So if it's during the week, instead of writing the date, I might just write Wednesday, right? That I have to get that done and out the door on Wednesday. And then I put in the dates up here along the top, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. For me, that's just a reminder if somebody says, hey, I need that by the 12th, I don't have to go back to this page and determine which day of the week the 12th is. It's not necessary, but I find that helpful. And then I will usually put that this is week 7. So that's the week of the year that this is. And it is February 9 to 15. This comes from when I used to have them all clustered together. So I used to be in a sterling ink. So here's my sterling ink from last year. And when I had a new month, this is May here, when I had a new month, I would put all of the weeks together, one week per page here. And so that is why I separated them that way, because it was really easy to determine which week I was on that way. But as you can see, I've been doing this for quite a while. Sometimes the lists are quite extensive. It really just depends on the week. And then what I often do, if they're not extensive, is it's a good excuse to use a vinyl or something like that. So that's always nice. Um, so basically, that is my Alistair list for the week. That's all I have to do ahead of time. It is ready for me to go and put in certain things that I need to do. So for example, I need to read meditations. I don't normally put this on the list anymore because I know that I need to do that. But as a good example, we're going to go ahead and do that. Now I am reading Marcus Aurelius's Meditations with a friend of mine. And my friend Kim, we talk on Wednesday, which means that I need to have this done by Tuesday. So I'll just put a dot on Tuesday. That lets me know that's when I want to have it done by. And when I do it, I will cross it off. And then what I usually do, so if I've done something and it's completely done, I will make a line after it, right? So once it's completely finished and I've marked an X over here, I'll make a line following it to the end of the week. That way I know that I don't have to do that thing or worry about that thing anymore. Because a lot of times these are things that I'm working on at work that I'm working on multiple days. So working on the ground floor lighting, right? I worked on that 4 different days and then I sent that thing off on Thursday. So I wasn't going to be working on it again uh, through the rest of the week. So that's why that line is there. Now, there may be a line before the X. That usually means that it's something that is not available until later in the week. So let's say I need to fold laundry on Friday, but I'm not going to do laundry until Friday, so it's not available to fold before then. I will just put a line through Monday through Thursday, so I don't feel like I have to pay attention to that task. So it's the Ellister is just a running task list like that that goes all the way down the week. So if we look at this list here, we can look at review the planters. We looked at those on Friday, but we're not done looking at them. So I'm going to put an arrow here and move it to my list for this week. So I need to review and select planters. We're getting to the point where we're looking at finishes now. So that has to happen this week. Next up, we've got undone in bed by midnight. This is kind of an ongoing thing. So I'm just going to mark that as done because I only did that once, but it's done. I'm not going to move it to the next week, but I will put it on the next week because it is something that I try to do every week. So let's put that here. I'm not real great at this yet, but we're trying. And then I'm working on rooftop amenity ideas for a building that we have here in St. Louis. So let's go ahead and add that to the list because I'm not done. And I don't need to know what day I'm working on it. This is one of the beauties of the Ellister list. I don't have to know that I'm going to work on that on Monday, so I need to put it on my day for Monday. Like I just know that I'm working on it during the week. I did finish this. We emailed about the closet system. That's done. Hypnosis. I was bad about doing this week, but let's put it on to this next week. I went through the box of mail yesterday, so that's done. And I'm going to do this today, and maybe I'll add the recipes to the book today. So anyway, that's what it looks like at the end of the week. And so I can go through really quickly, see what's done, what's not done, what I need to carry over to next week. And so that is why I like it. It also means that my daily pages I can use for more fun stuff. So like I don't have to have a task list on Monday, so I can do something that's more fun. Saturday, no task list. The tasks always go on the Alistair list so that they're out of my everyday. Now, if I have a day that is extremely task intense, I can always do a separate task list for that day or break down something here into smaller steps on that day, something like that. It just keeps me from having to have a task list every single day. I can have it when I want, and I don't have to have it when I don't want. So that is the Ellister list explained in my version. Now I use something similar here in the back. So this is my future log back here. And anytime I have something that I know is happening, we have tickets, for example, to our local outdoor theater. So I have all those shows listed on the different months. And that way I don't have to do, for example, you know, all of my events for June are noted here. I don't have to fill out my June um, calendar. I don't have to figure out how many spaces in a future log I need for June because I have the whole list here. I have an extra page in case I need it, but everything is just kind of on here. Things that happen every single month, those are noted every month. So when I'm doing my monthly calendar, I can come here and look at the things that I have on my list for the month. So that's a different version of an Alistair list, um, in this case with the months. And then I have one other that I use regularly, and that is in my YouTube journal. If you have something where tasks reoccur frequently, this is the YouTube journal. And so every time that I make a video, I have to go through all of these steps to make the video. And so I put the video title, and then I have somewhere where I can mark off all of these steps getting done to make that video, right? So I can, when I film it, I can be done with that. And so even if I haven't uploaded it, you know, right now I'm filming and uploading at the same time for this one. So we can cross both of those off. I don't edit my lives. I already added the video package beforehand when I scheduled the live and the thumbnail. And I added the community post yesterday. I don't usually do any of these for a live. And I will watch and pin the comment at the end. And so then this live is completed. So basically, it just kind of helps you go through that process. For the future log, yep, we'll go back right back to that. So each of the months I have, I put circles here if I need to reschedule. So for example, so that's what that says at the top, need to reschedule. And I put a circle around this 26th. We are supposed to go see Shrek, the musical. And we also have a Cubs game back in Indiana with our kids. So we have tickets to two different things. So when the season tickets become available, like I have my season tickets, but when the individual tickets become available, I know I need to reschedule Shrek to a different night. Um, so when it's done, I have a little column over here with a check mark so that when it's done, I can cross it off. This one I did kind of a check mark and an X because for ice cream for breakfast. And then I noted here that it's the first Saturday in February. So when I go to make my next future log next year, I have it noted that it's the first Saturday in February. But these are all the months. I don't have January because when I set up this book, I didn't need January. I was already ready to do the January monthly here, so I didn't need to put a list over here. So if it's canceled, I would probably just draw a line through it, most likely, knowing me. I don't usually cancel things in the future log. It's just once I've dealt with it, I'll put an X over here. Although I could, I guess. I, I just haven't had to do that. Usually if something goes on here, it's because I want to pay attention to it. But I can, if it's here and know by the time it starts, like let's say I'm not going to go to the St. Louis Pen Show because it's the same weekend we're going to be in Indiana, right? I don't necessarily have to put this on the calendar. I can just mark it that I paid attention to it. Um, so when I go through and do the month of June, I can just put an X here, whether I record it in June or not. It's just done in the future log. Um, so okay, that good. That makes sense. Okay. But yeah, same kind of difference here with that using that Alistair method in different ways based on what you need. So if you need it for particular projects that you do a bunch of routine tasks, it works great for that. It works great for a future log. I know a lot of people have their future log, like here maybe, but what if that's not enough lines? I always wonder that maybe it's not going to be enough lines. And then if I do it here, um, I do have birthdays and things like that in here, but I'm running low on space on a lot of these. And so it would be nice. It's nice to have it somewhere else where I'm not having to think about that. Um, because I've already got all those. I could put it up here, but that's not what I end up doing. Um, for up here, usually I'll put anything that I put on an extra page that's not a a page during the month. So if I were to use one of these pages like this, right? This is page 91. Does not have a date. So if I were to do something on this page other than if I were to do something other than the Alistair log and I wanted it indexed, I would put that on this index as well, but up here. So that just gives me space for those. In this case, I used some of the days before um, because we had days in the week uh, that were not. We had, like, for example, the 30th and the 31st of December, not part of January, but there's nowhere else to put what I included on those days. So anyway, that's how I use the Alistair method. It's obviously very easy to interpret in a different way if you need it. So, X is canceled or didn't do, and checks are done for Keisha. That if that makes sense to you, that is perfect. That's what you should do. Um, there's no rules. There's no right or wrong. You should do whatever makes sense to you. Um, but yeah, for me, if I don't do an event, it usually gets a line all the way through, right? So I didn't do the hypnosis. It gets a line all the way through. And that to my brain means that that didn't happen. So everything else did. Um, so that is where we're at for the week. We are planned for our vertical weekly here with everything that's going on. We have our task list ready to go with our initial tasks already done. I could go ahead and assign days to these, but I actually don't know what days I want to work on these. But I could just go through and put dots in for different days. Uh, but anyway, that is our plan with me, I think. I'm going to call it here and let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm going to head off and we'll do an alternate plan with me tomorrow um, in the Rosy Life Flow. I did end up using, so I had in the Rosy Life Flow, someone had suggested another Becky that I do a quote of the day, so I did that here as well. But I do like that idea, so I might continue that through this week. We'll see. But I'll be doing an alternate weekly here in the Rosie Life, and I will see you for that tomorrow. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Uh, they should all be long videos, Keisha, so you should have plenty of treadmill uh, media to consume. You get lots of working out done. I think the Coffee Monster Co. Washi took me about a half hour to go through and swatch it all. So, and then the others, are usually a good at least a half an hour. So I get some good workouts in this week. Have a good day, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. It was great having you here. I will see you guys soon. Bye.